Welcome to Envision Skateboards and EnvisionSkateboards.com. In the last video I mentioned that we'd be doing the design on the 32-inch kicktail. And we have a close-in shot here because I want to show you how to do the surfboard laminate paper. What I did was I did a white bottom on this 32-inch kicktail with the paint rubbed in with a wet rag. And then I did a sort of a diamond on the top. And I did it in white, and the purpose I did it in white is because if you ever end up using the laminate paper, you need to do it on a light background. If you were to try to put this laminate paper on a dark background, it just kind of disappears because the image isn't like a photo or something. It's actually on this paper that disappears into the resin. So the lighter the background that you put for your laminate paper, the better, because then your logo will show up, your design will show up much better. So the purpose for this close-in shot is I'm just going to mix this resin. This is the same resin you'll be using on to finish the top and the bottom. It's the sealing epoxy. It's very similar to a tabletop epoxy. And in this epoxy is a 1-to-1 ratio. So you put the same amount in there, the same amount in there of the hardener, and mix the two together, and you have it. So this would be what would come with your kit. And for the purposes of this mixture for the laminate paper, we need very little. The resin is much thicker than the hardener. So to mix this in, all I did was cut the bottom off of some water bottles. You could also use some clear plastic cups that you can buy for very cheap at the store. Anything to mix this in. So we start with the resin. This gives it a chance to kind of settle down and see where it's at on the bottom here, because we want to match them up. I want to put the exact same amount of hardener in. So there's two ways to do this. When you get the resin and hardener, they're going to have the same amount in each bottle. So as I pour this in here, this is much less viscous, so it pours a lot easier. As I said, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. I can put these two together. They started out with the same amount. That's very close. I may still have a little more hardener in there, which isn't bad because when I go to pour to mix these, I'm not going to get all of that hardener out of there anyway. So it's better to start with a little bit more before I pour it in. To mix all my resins, I use, this is just like the handle of a spatula or something, and I've been using it to mix all my resins in. When you go to do your sealing of your board, you'll put half of the rest of this in one side and the other half, the resin in the other side for the top or the bottom first, and then you'll put the rest and mix them for the top, and we'll show that in the other video. So I have these two together. This isn't the ideal conditions just because there's so little needed. I probably should have mixed it in a little bit smaller container. A little help with the rest of this video from my new videographer, Guillermo Smith. He will be taking over and zeroing in on what we're doing here. But just a couple of minutes ago, I mixed this resin 1-to-1. It's 1 part hardener and 1 part resin. Very simple. And so it is crucial that you get it exactly 1-to-1 or as close as you can. And we'll show a little bit more of that in the videos for the sealing of the boards, because we mix such a small amount for this laminate paper. Okay, take it over, Guillermo. So this is our laminate paper with our new logo on it. And basically all you got to do is start with a little bit there. Normally I would use gloves, but I don't have any with me right now. And I just kind of move this around into the size of the laminate paper to get it on there. And it moves around once you get it on there, so we just kind of let it sit there for a minute and soak up some of that resin. Now, I had mentioned before that I made a white background just because it's so crucial to make the lighter the background, the better your laminate paper will show, your design on your laminate paper will show up. I'm going to put just a little more on the top of this. It's pretty thick because it's kind of cool today. The most optimal conditions is probably 75 degrees to do this in, and I'm lucky to be 60 degrees right now. So I have a little heater here I'll run on it. So once we have it soaked, let me show the heater. Once we have the paper soaked, we want to get that extra resin out of there. So I just use my fingers, you can see it squeezing out. But if I were to do this image on a darker background, this eyeball just would not show up so nice. And that's why I use a white background here. And any kind of a light background will work. So just think about that if you decide that you want to use the laminate paper. Okay, turn. So just a couple of things to take note of. You'll notice probably that the paper's still a little bit visible, but when we seal the top, it'll pretty much all disappear. And then when we put the sand in the top for grip or clear grip tape, it completely makes the edges of that disappear. Also, you notice the resin is into the wood and discolored a little bit. When we seal the top, that will just blend right in and be part of the board. Won't even see it. So the other thing is that I didn't even use half of that little teeny bit of resin I mixed up. It just takes so little. So that's the decoration of the 32-inch cruiser. Next we're going to go into sealing the boards.